Today I'm going to go over the mechanism of pulmonary edema formation caused by fluid overload. So just a recap of what pulmonary edema is, it's when you have excessive fluid that builds up in your lungs, and it can be in any part of your lungs, including the interstitial tissue, the air spaces, or the alveoli, or both. And the reason for pulmonary edema, it can be due to various causes such as left ventricular failure, acute hypertension, mitral valve disease, kidney or liver disease that cause sodium retention. So you have a lot of fluid going through your circulatory system. So to truly understand how pulmonary edema happens, we need to understand fluid dynamics. So here is the definition of some key components. So hydrostatic pressure, which is the amount of pressure exerted by blood pushing against the walls of the capillary. So here you see hydrostatic pressure, so that's blood pushing against the walls. Oncotic pressure, which is the amount of water that may leave or get drawn into depending on where all of the proteins are. And then capillary permeability, so how easily these substances are passing through the capillary wall. So starting on this arterial end, you have highly oxygenated blood. Because you have increased oxygen molecules and more blood, you're going to have an increased hydrostatic pressure on this arterial end. So increased molecules is going to cause an increased pressure hitting on those walls of the capillaries and going out into the interstitial. Drawing out is you're going to have less oncotic pressure because there's not as many proteins drawing water out. So overall, you're going to have a net flow out. Whereas on the venous end, it's inverse. So because now you have deoxygenated blood, you're going to have less oxygen molecules. So you're going to have a smaller amount of hydrostatic pressure going out and a larger amount of osmotic pressure coming in. In the natural fluid dynamic system, you always have some fluid left outside of the capillary, which is where our lymphatic system comes in and is able to drain that excess fluid out. More related to fluid overload and pulmonary edema, we have that increased hydrostatic pressure on that arterial end. So because now that we have, due to either that hypertension or left ventricular failure, you have increased fluid flowing through your system. So you're going to have increased amount of pressure going out of your capillary. So because of that, because there's so much pressure pounding against that capillary wall, you have increased peripheral vascular resistance. So your heart has to keep working harder and it keeps pounding harder against the arterial walls, causing increased left ventricular pressure. And once that pressure becomes so high in the left ventricle, it's like a chain reaction. So it goes from the blood vessels to the left ventricle pressure increased to the left atrium pressure increases to eventually where your circular system cannot keep up anymore and it goes back through that aorta into the lungs, causing pulmonary edema. So because you have all of this fluid dynamic system mismatched due to either those four causes we stated in the beginning, you have decreased space for gas exchange. And that is how pulmonary edema begins.